Welcome everybody. I'm Mary Alice Long, and today we're going to have a performance of Create a Life That Comes from the Heart. We're, for purposes of recording, in Redmond, Washington on June 15th, 2013. My cohorts who are playing with me, my co-creatives, are Anne Lindquist and Ken Curtis, and they've been co-creating a few performances with me up until today, and will be continuing to perform on into the future, so I wanted to have this recording to share with all of you. To start with, this performance is a natural lead-in from some of the work and play that I've done previously in the early 1990s, or actually 1998, so a little bit into the 90s. I choreographed, created, and danced a video, and created a video called Love's Way, the Joy and Pain of Surrogacy. And that video is a reflection of my personal story of being a surrogate mother for a couple, and it's reflected against a myth called the Silky Myth. And for those of you who don't know what the Silky Myth is about, it's about a seal woman who, as a group, these seal women come to shore. And this one particular seal woman took off her pelt, and a fisherman saw her dancing, and he was so lonely that he invited her through somewhat of an entrapment to marry him. And she did. She agreed to marry him because he wouldn't give her pelt back unless she did. She agreed that in a certain number of years she would receive her pelt back, and she married him. And so during the course of the marriage she had a child, and later on she had to return to her natural watery state, and she had to leave that child behind, similar to what I experienced as a surrogate mother, birthing a baby, giving the baby away to a couple, and then wondering what happened to the child all those many years later. So that was then, this is now. This story of Create a Life That Comes from the Heart is really about my life's work through Play Equals Peace and everything that Play Equals Peace is about. And what it's about is helping others create a life that comes from the heart, our hearts have many voices, not just one, but many, and it's up to us to figure out what those voices are about and how to language in a way that we can talk to our hearts and receive that information back. And in addition to our heart, of course, we have our wonderful heads that are filled with information, a lot of times too much information. And then our bellies, where oftentimes we hear grumblings and rumblings, and that gives us additional information. So all that put together, we come to today and to this performance. My belief is that play is in everything. Play is here today as I perform, and you as an audience listen, receive, and witness the stories that are about to unfold. As an audience, as unique people, each of you, whether you're here in person at the performance today in Redmond, or you're listening to this and watching this videotape after the fact, as it's recorded, it's your privilege and your responsibility and your joy, I hope, to take in the story, all the stories I'm sharing, and make them your own. So there's a lot of possibilities in the stories. I'm telling one version of the story or stories, and you will all have your own versions to take home with you and to play with. So thank you for coming, and thank you for watching the video for those of you who will be doing that. There was a bird. There was a bird who was approaching the box. I had put out a cardboard box and I attached a string to the box. And I went back a distance from the box behind a bush and waited and waited for that bird to appear. And soon a little house sparrow came. I must have been about 6. This was really a big thing for me at the time. I did this often. But that very first time when I set up this box in the backyard and I connected the string and I held it in secret, hiding behind the bush and waiting and waiting, even at that time felt very special. It was about freedom. Freedom! I felt that, even as a 6-year-old. Freedom! I wanted that so much. And how was I going to find it? I found it through the exact opposite. By trapping this small, wee bird. So I put some crumbs in the box, and eventually the bird went in the box, and I slammed the box over the bird. The poor little house sparrow tried to get out, and just in a few seconds, I flipped the box over. And each time, the bird flew, and I felt that throughout my entire body, that feeling of flying, of lifting away. I come from maternal French-Canadian roots. My mom died almost exactly 5 years ago today. I had a dream. There is an open field, and in the field, someone or some beings created a word out of rocks that if you were to look from high above, you could see very easily. So these were large stones creating this very important word. And the word in French is courage. Courage. Don't we all need courage in our lives? And I felt my mom in the dream coming to me, and my maternal ancestors bringing me that message. French-Canadian women came over with their families from France in 1670. In 1670, they had a contract with the king. And the contract said that these women would be burned to the point of emulation, which means the fire. So they were going to be built up, housed, through the church, fed, in order to birth children for the king. Each family was paid a certain sum. And in the process, these women were burnt up. They withered away, many of them. They were depressed. And if they were wearing pelts, they would lose their pelts in that time and shed, and their skin would start to crack. And they would be slowly dying for king and church. Dear God, make me as pure and as beautiful, wearing flowing gowns and giving all of me in service, just like Mary. I was named Mary after all. From the point of birth and even before, I knew that I was to rise to the occasion and be like a Madonna. During my childhood, and we were always in the presence of this statue and myth, but we didn't call it a myth, oh no. This was real. She wore flowing gowns, and she stepped, and stood very, very groundedly on Satan, the snake. The Mother of God. And I, in all my innocence, was supposed to be, somehow, I was supposed to be beautiful, bountiful, beautifulness. California, in my California body. Not my Northwest body where I was raised, but my California body. I went to see a new therapist. I was depressed. I was lonely. I had my kids at home as a single mom, but I was searching for something and found myself at a Catholic church where there was a counselor. Almost from the very start, she started telling me, I am in a family of women who cannot conceive. I want to have a baby, but I can't. She knew from my history that I had just told her that I worked with pregnant women and women who couldn't conceive. And she continued to tell me about her plight and her sense of being disembodied. And so, as tight as I was, and as disavowed from my own body as I was, I offered myself. I said, do you want me to be a surrogate mother for you? To birth a baby? No big deal. I've done it before 3 times. I love being pregnant. I can do this. It'll be a joy to help you have a family of your own. Pregnant in a very, very, very short order. It only took 2 tries. And guess what? It was an immaculate conception. And I remember thinking, I am the Madonna. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. I am wearing blue flowing gowns. And I have the energy for this. I know what I'm doing. I've birthed before. No big deal, right? We all have scars. I know you know what I mean. Every one of us has scars. Mine, one of them anyway, is right here. When I went in to give birth, my water bag had broken. And quickly, as the saying goes, they put me under. I was unconscious. They pushed and pushed and pushed my legs down so I couldn't push. And I woke up in the hospital bed where I worked, the same hospital I worked as a nurse at the time. I looked down to find a bandage. pretty off balance. I went home from the hospital and I found myself depressed. But in my depression, and in my going under, and in my pushing down, I realized as I sat in a chair at home, I didn't want to create a baby. I wanted to create play. I wanted to create from my imagination. I wanted to create what I wasn't sure of, but I knew. I knew that I wanted to create from my heart, and that had not happened. That I had shed in a way that was very harming to me and to everyone else, certainly my children. And so I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, until I exhausted myself. I went to school, I went to work, I took care of the kids. And then in 1989, a couple of years after giving birth to my surrogate son, I ended up in a dream work retreat. And I started listening to my dreams. The first dream that I had that I recalled from that time was a phone call. Somebody was calling me to playful action. I began to flow and have those dreams and listen to them. I listened deeply and I took playful action. And one of the actions I took that came right out of a dream was to create a dance video. A dance-ly video that became a story about my own personal story and of the seal woman story, the Sophie story. It was that moment of samadhi, that moment when you can't do anything else. The dream was of acrobats and clowns. And I had one of my instructors in his dream body who was our research professor in my doctoral program. And I was called to research my life, to dig deep and to dance, the dance of the silky and of myself, of my unique self with the big S. So I dove into the watery depths. And all around me were seals. When I filmed part of the Silky film, there was a little harbor seal who watched the entire filming from the waters in California, in my California body. He did not take his eyes off of me the whole time. I'll never forget his eyes. And from that moment on, gosh, all I wanted to do was play! Not only myself, but with everybody else. And I realized many things. As I got to know my playful self, I realized that play It's not just silly. But it's for everyone. It's our birthright. And it's for me. It's for me. I could take that in. I could take that in as a gift to myself. And I could give in a much more balanced way than I had as a surrogate mother. In a beautiful give and take with play. So today, I play through challenges, and I help others do that too. And we play out for joy, for the sheer joy of it. There are so many ways to play. And we're all unique. That's the great thing. All worldwide, we're all unique. I was invited to a class in the last year, and the class was a kids' art class. The instructor, Christine, said to me, "You're the only one, Marielle, so I would invite to this class. It's for 3rd grade on up." And I went, "Great! I love that. I love being in a 3rd grade on up class because I'll learn so much and I'll get to play." And I figured if I enjoy play with finger paints and jump roping and swimming and hopscotch and much more, and lots of other kids through elders will want to do that too. And so it's now my mission to spread the value and benefits of play for myself and for all of you here present today and out there in the world. Breathe. And breathe again. Thank you so much for playing.